every time the people would leave, the creative team would leave the room, she would position her daughter to face them, so that as they were leaving the room, they
would have
see
a mental
her.
image.
Yes.
Did it work?
Well, she didn't get it.
Exactly.
I did, and that was my second show.
So when you got Les Mis, like, did you know you were going to be like doing a show every single night of the week? Like, did you know what was happening?
Well, there's a video of me on the Sally Jesse show when I was in Les Mis. They had like young talent come on, and there I am, like all my teeth in my mouth, look so awkward, and I'm like, I don't need a day off. I love performing every night. Now I'm in Spring Awakening. I'm like,
right,
Jonathan, I can't do it. I need to take the night
Meanwhile,
off.
I was like, do you have any embarrassing videos? You're like, nope, none.
Nope.
Turns out you had an amazing video you could have brought.
No, they're away. They're not in my apartment with me.
They're 10 minutes away in your parents' house in Jersey.
No,
Where best up is 10 minutes away.
They're in the Hamptons.
Some of us are rich. Okay, you're in my mansion. Okay, so hold on a second. So when you committed to doing that, were you homeschooled suddenly, or going to?
No, I still went to regular school. The only time that I first became homeschooled was when I did the Company of Ragtime in Toronto.
And then you became born again. Okay, so hold on. Those born again kids are homeschooled. Anyway, so hold on a second. When you were doing Les Mis, who was the Jean Valjean?
I had a bunch. I had Craig Schulman.
Was Juju Fisher doing it then? That's when I did it. You must have done it right after me. Who was your Fontaine?
We had Paige Davis. Maybe.
Paige Davis?
Was it Paige O'Hara? Paige O'Hara.
Paige O'Hara.
Paige O'Hara, and also
Not Andrew McArdle?
No, but her daughter replaced me.
Ooh, busted.
Yes.
Replaced by Annie's daughter. Okay, so suddenly you're in a Broadway show. Like, how did you know how to do anything?
It just kind of clicked. It just was one of those things where I was like, I love this. And
so it actually was fun.
It was great. I knew from the minute that that's what I wanted to do, and if it wasn't really what I wanted to do, I still wouldn't be doing it. It just happened to be what I was meant to be doing, and that's why I'm still doing it.
And when you're young Cosette, how many shows a week to do as young Cosette?
You do like a weird rotation system where you're Cosette one night, you're Eponine the next, and then you're an understudy, so you're just backstage, and then you're Cosette, Eponine, understudy. So.
Is it annoying when you're understudy? Or you're like, I want to go on?
Yeah, I do remember wanting, to be on. I remember that, but I didn't know anything else, kind of. So I was like, yes, this is my job tonight. So it was fine, really.
Did you ever go on for Gavroche?
I didn't.
Oh,
I didn't.
That would have been fun.
Yeah, that would have been fun.
Okay, any crazy mistakes on stage?
Not in Les Mis that I can remember, but I'm sure I can tell you some stuff from Spring Awakening. When you have a bigger part, you have more room for
big fat
more
debacles.
Mistakes. But I don't know. You can ask Joanne over here. She's been to our show over 100 times, and she probably can tell you if my show from night to night better than I could.
I just wonder where she gets the money from. Joanne, talk to me privately about producing my next show. Okay, so Lisa, you did Les Mis for like a year-ish, and then you auditioned for Ragtime. So you had to go to Canada?
I did. I went to Canada with my mom.
Wasn't she like, hello, I'm a nurse, why am I going to Canada for a year?
Well, my mom and dad had, never gone anywhere really. But my mom left her job, and she came with me, and my dad stayed at home, and we just did it. I thank them so much for everything. I mean, how could I have done it?
Yeah, they really had to kind of change their lives for you.
Yeah.
So when you got into Ragtime, first of all, did you freak out when you heard that opening number? Wasn't it great?
I remember doing the Sitzprobe.
Sitzprobe is the first time you sing it with the orchestra.
Where you just come in and you sing through, because we'd learned the music, we'd learned it with the, musical director. And then all of a sudden this massive orchestra comes in one day, and they just surround you, and you sit in this huge hall. And Ragtime was like a big deal.
Ragtime was kind of the last of the big orchestra too, until Mamma Mia destroyed it. Ragtime had amazing, full string section. It was beautiful. You heard me, 9 people in that orchestra. Don't get me started. Ragtime was amazing. It was 27. It was amazing. Go on.
And hearing that music for the first time. Hi, Jamie. Hi, Paul.
Jimmy Kennedy? Am I being punked? All right, go on. Ashton Kutcher.
And when they first, when we heard that music, I knew, but my mom was like, this is something really special. And Ragtime changed my life. I mean, Brian Stokes Mitchell came to see me with his wife Allison, who were both in Ragtime with me. They came to see me last night in Spring Awakening, and it's like I've known these people for years, and that was my education. That was me not needing to go to college, because I had Audra McDonald, Brian, Marin, Peter all around me teaching me how to sing, how to do everything.
So I remember, because I used to play for that show, and I remember I think I saw you sing the opening number, and I'm like, I thought she's mute. Aren't you supposed to be sort of like, Father speaks for both of us? And then somebody like, ragtime. So, what the hell is that?
I didn't even think about that. You're totally right.
I was in a rage.
I should have just, during the musical numbers, just been sitting there like...
Right, exactly.
Looking around.
The rest of the show, you were just
singing?
like uncomfortable. Wait, so what was your part of the opening number? Were you like, did they give you like an alto line? Were you soprano?
No, I was high soprano. I was always a high soprano.
Even at age 9? Ragtime, ragtime!
Yeah. It was always a high soprano, and every time I would come into the first day of music rehearsal, they'd be like, so what are you? And I remember that. They were like, are you a high? And I don't know anything about music. And I was just like, just the high part, please. And then I would do it, and they'd be so surprised that I actually could.
That's crazy.
As I got older, my voice kind of changed.
Like you and Judy Kay were like, okay, so wait a minute. So what did you learn from watching Audrey McDonald? Well, actually, first was LaChance, wasn't it?
No. Don't say anything like that outside of this theater.
I'll get my arse kicked? Oh, wait, no. Hold on. Wait.
No,
Audrey did Toronto, LaChance did L.A.
Yeah, which was a huge controversy that they opened a show within, the U.S. that wasn't the original company before we opened it on Broadway. That's why Brian Stokes left Canada to go do it in LA for a while.
He wanted to be the first
one to do it everywhere. But, yeah, it was Audra. And, I mean, literally, Audra would, teach me. I remember her showing me how to breathe properly. And I would be warming up, and she'd tell me, well, that's a good warm-up, but why don't you try, like, this instead? And I learned things like that from her. I learned a lot of, really how to be professional from Peter Friedman. I get a lot of my crazy, I have to be here at this time, and I have to from him. And then I have a lot of my, more laid-back stuff from Marin. She really showed me that you can just, laugh through it,
Oh, wow. Yeah, so, that's totally their personalities.
I picked stuff from all of them that I have in me now.
And what about Judy Kay? She's a great actress.
It was originally Camille Saviola.
Right, she did it in Toronto.
And then it was Judy Kay after that, and she was wonderful. Did you see her in Sweeney Todd?
No, she got 2 weeks in. No, I heard she was amazing.
Yeah, it was kind of an interesting part to put her in, but...
You think she was good?
Well, because I thought Patty was amazing. Oh, she's sweet. Thank you.
She's great. She can sing anything and act anything. She's so depressing was that scene, excuse me, where he's like, you're in my way.
Oh, yeah.
So good. Oh my God, I was obsessed with her. Okay, so hold on. So wait, Ragtime opened in Toronto. Did you guys get good reviews?
Honestly, as a kid, I didn't even know anything like that existed.
Newspapers?
Thanks. Well, I was homeschooled.
Exactly.
But
Christ existed, yeah.
But I didn't know that we got reviewed for doing what we did. I just thought we did it to have fun.
Oh, because you came into Les Mis, because Les Mis had already opened for years. So
but I do remember. The only thing I do remember was that hearing that we didn't get that good reviews for Broadway. I knew that we had mixed reviews, and I was like, even as a little kid, I remember being like, what? I believed so much, and I still do. I believed so much in that show. And, then I remember the night before the Tony nominations. And I remember the Tonys. I remember those are my 3 biggest memories from Ragtime.
Wasn't it annoying to be on stage for so long and not say anything? Wasn't it annoying to have that much to be focused like that?
No, because I still had to, do my fair share of acting with my eyes.
I know, but Norma Desmond style, wasn't it annoying? I don't know. I'd be like, let me say something, man.
No, I managed, I loved it.
You never missed a show. Did you ever miss a show?
Not in Ragtime. I took a vacation and one day. I didn't ever take a lot of days off.
Yeah, I don't.
As I get older, I realize it's not that big of a deal. Right, Julian? I wasn't there Sunday night. I'm sorry.
Really?
No.
Cheetah never missed the shows.
Who didn't?
Cheetah.
Oh, yeah, and neither did,
Ethel.
Hello, Dolly.
Carol
Channing.
Just saying, it's 21 if you're
listening. All right, I'll start now.
Just saying, 8 shows a week. That's what you pay for. Now then, don't pull Sarah Brightman. Only 6 for what? Singing once? Oh, don't get me started. And it's like, wishing you were sometime. I'm out. For what? What was that? Okay, so wait. So Ragtime. Okay, so hold on. So you never did California. You only did Toronto and Broadway.
Toronto for a year, Broadway for a year.
Did you meet Clinton? I remember he came to the show. Oh, no, he came to Lion King.
Yeah.
And I was in a rage about that. Of all effing shows to go see.
That was a really, really hard year. I mean, I remember crying so hard at the Tonys because Lion King and Cabaret took everything. When Peter Friedman lost the Tony, I, literally, I remember, praying to God, being like, "Well, how could you do this to
Oh my
me?"
God, it's a little extreme.
Like, literally,
That's amazing.
I was
though.
so.
'Cause he was like your dad.
Yeah, he was. He took me as his date to the Tonys. I mean, like I was so hurt, and when we lost to the Lion King, that was like a really big deal, and that's what I was so scared of this year with Spring Awakening. You know, like
So
I
this
was
the Lion
like,
King again? Because that would be
well,
really
Mary
appropriate.
Poppins. I was like, oh gosh, what if history repeats itself? And I was really scared because when you believe in something so much, there's so much room to get hurt. You know.
I know, but it's
with
so
these
arbitrary,
shows.
this award show.
And then I did the revival of Fiddler with Alfred Molina and Randy Graff.
I forgot you did that too. Oh, hold on. Wait,
I took a little break in between.
And by little, you mean 7 years. Well, I think we'll go back to Ragtime for a minute. So wait, Ragtime you did on Broadway for how long? You did the
A
whole
year.
run.
Yeah. No, it was 2 years.
Who
But
the hell took over for you?
I don't even
remember.
know. But after I left the first year, I left with Maren, Peter, Audra.
Oh,
we
everybody.
all left on the
What about that
same
amazing
day.
boy? Where's he? Alex? Was that his name?
Amazing?
Yeah, you heard me. He had a great voice. He had a great voice, actually. Heard his voice, unlike somebody on stage. I literally didn't hear his name till Spring Awakening. I loved his voice. He had a sassy vibrato. I mean, it was a crazy speaking voice. In 19. I mean, like crazy, like over-dictionated. But I loved his voice. Where the hell? Wasn't he Canadian?
No.
He's American?
The original was Paul Dano, who went on to do Little Miss Sunshine and all those movies. And then
He was the brother?
No, he was the little boy.
In Little... No, I'm saying, but he's the brother.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God, he was the original?
In Toronto, and then his crazy mother pulled him from the show.
Why? Because she had Wandering Eye also?
No, not that one. No, she was like, he's got to go. He's going to do bigger and better things, which
That's
he
true.
is.
That's
There, I'm
true.
still working 8 shows a
Oscar.
week. He's in Oscar movies and all
Yeah,
that.
but Broadway's more fun than movies.
I know.
Okay, so hold on. So you did Ragtime for a year. What about the crazy I'm in jail now producer?
Oh my God, he's not in jail. He's just stuck
from the country.
He's just been from the country. I mean, we had a lot of. If certain things had been different with Ragtime, the show might still be running.
Oh, yeah,
That's
I
all I
agree.
can say because I didn't like understand. You know, all I remember is my parents being like, let's invest in Live End. That was a huge mistake. I mean, everybody was like, let's invest in this.
That was the
company.
producing company, and he essentially lied about the books, Garth Chabinsky, and he wound up being busticated. So your parents lost all that investment money?
A lot of people did in our show because we were like, oh, let's invest in it.
Oh my God, that's so sad.
But I
Ouch.
didn't quite understand everything that was going on. But I just sort of feel like if things had been different, it might
Oh, yeah.
still, because it's such a great, it should have ran longer. And I think everybody in the show feels the same way.
It was an amazing. It was like an old school, old American musical.
Yeah.
Oh, so great. Those
Maybe they'll
days.
revive it.
Yeah, well, they keep talking about doing a concert version of it.
They're not, they wanted to do that with the entire original company.
Yeah, what happened to that?
That's not happening.
Not cool.
But maybe with new people, which would be great. They need new people.
No.
You know?
But I live in the past. All right, so hold on. So you quote unquote took a break. Did you do any high school shows?
Well, after Ragtime, I came in and I was like, okay, I want to be like a normal kid for a while. I was in junior high and in high school, and that's when I started with Spring Awakening, which took up a long time. I left Ragtime when I was 12, almost 13, and I started Spring Awakening when I was 14.
That's appropriate.
So,
Totally boundary breaking.
but I didn't. I mean, obviously, not all the stuff that you see in the show now. We did not do in the workshops. But that's when I first started, and I did all those workshops, and then I got.
How they find you? Did you audition? For
I did audition for them.
And what'd you sing?
I sang.
House on a Cloud?
No. They wanted me to sing a pop rock song, and here I am. I just did Ragtime and Les Mis. I didn't really know pop music, so I sang "I Don't Know How to Love Him" from Jesus Christ Superstar. And then they were like,
72. Okay.
they were like, "Can you sing, a pop song?" And I was like, I can sing Britney Spears, and I did. I know.
Oops, you did it again? Or
Yeah, I did it. I was like, yeah. I was so stupid and, cocky. I was like, yeah, I'll sing it and I'll dance. And I did the whole dance routine for them. Yep.
At 14?
Yes.
That's appropriate.
Oh, I got it.
No wonder you got the part. Okay. Flash. Okay, so hold on. So you auditioned for, who are you auditioning for? Duncan Sheik?
Duncan, Michael, Steven. Those were the original 3.
And then after you auditioned, what was that? What were you actually auditioning for?
I was auditioning for the same, for a workshop through the Roundabout. And Spring Awakening kind of got, stopped a couple times because it was supposed to do this workshop at the Roundabout and then go to the Roundabout Theater, but the 9/11 happened.
That's how long ago it was?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Mm-hmm. And it really, stopped our,
momentum.
process. People, didn't want to put the money into this show. They did, because no one was really going to theater and they weren't going to go see, But it was good because we needed more time and the show needed to be perfected, and it took us this long, and luckily I'm still with it.
Were you the only original cast member left?
Yes.
Wow.
I'm the only one that's done it. For everyone else is... We only have 2 other cast members, Skylar and John Gallagher, that did the concert at Lincoln Center 3 years ago, 3 years ago. But other than that, I'm the only one.
How weird that when you were able to be so young playing the role and you could still look the same.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty unbelievable that someone starting at so young would still stay in a show.
It's a little Carol Channing-esque. It's the worst. I'm still doing Dolly. You're 90. Okay. Oh, wait, so talk about Fiddler. What did you sing for that audition?
For Fiddler, I went in, I sang...
What the? Is that a cell phone? It's the most amazing thing I've ever heard in my life. Or is it like the orchestra from Ragtime? What is that?
I sang... I sang If I Loved You for that.
I don't know. I love him. If I loved you. Wait. Oh, I thought you meant Do I Love You. Do I what?
No.
All right. If I Loved You. I was like, a duet? Oh, If I Love You.
Yeah.
And you were auditioning for Bjelkel or Spritz?
Well, I was auditioning for Sprinza, and I ended up playing Sprinza and Hava, and then replacing and playing Hava for a while.
Blah, blah. So wait, so you got the gig, and you began rehearsals with it was a whole original cast, right?
Yeah.
That must have been fun, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was really great. I mean, I'd taken a break for a little while, and it was kind of that deciding factor because this is right when I was deciding if I was going to go to college or not, and I ended up getting it, and then that's when I kind of said, like, okay, like, this is what I was going to do. That's what Fiddler was for me. You know, I'd taken this break, and I could do the show, or I could go to college, and I'd gotten into Tisch, I'd gotten into the Cap 21 program, and I decided to not only just be in Fiddler, but to be in this business. So
did you take lessons on the side?
Yeah, I did. And I still do. You know,
take?
I take my singing classes and my acting classes. And
you take dance?
I don't.
Okay, you know the Britney dance, so you need to know. It's amazing.
This.
Flash,
Really
exactly.
all you need to know.
And Schoolgirl. Okay, so Fiddler rehearsals. Did you think the show was great when you were rehearsing? Have you ever seen the movie or anything?
I had seen the movie when I got the part, but in the rehearsals for Fiddler, I mean, everybody made such a controversy that this was like the anti-Fiddler. It was like the non-Jewish Fiddler, but I didn't realize that. Like while we were doing it, it was the only Fiddler that I'd ever known, so I thought it was great.
You thought it was normal that they all went to church?
I thought it was normal that there was like Sally Murphy and all these Irish people and things like that. I was like, yeah, this is great, and then people would say things to me, and then one day I come back to work and I look around and I'm like, you guys aren't Jewish. Where are all the Jews?
And Randy Graff was Jewish.
Yeah, she was. And I'm half Jewish, and Molly Ephraim, who was Little Red in Into the Woods, she played Bjelka, she was Jewish. So there were some Jews in there, but
I didn't actually see that. I saw when Harvey came in.
Yeah.
So I never saw the full non-Jewish version.
Yeah, well,
but
Harvey was good.
Yeah, I thought Harvey was good. And then
Rosie.
Yeah, so Harvey and Andrea, and then Harvey.
Andrea I thought was great. I love her. She's amazing.
Andrea Martin
from Big Fat Greek Wedding.
From SCTV, my favorite year. Crazy reference from a year ago. Okay, so hold on. So Fiddler, the set was amazing. Orchestra was a nice sized orchestra too for that show.
Beautiful orchestrations. Awesome set with the trees and stuff like that. I thought it was really great.
And it was your first time understudying a big part like that.
Yeah, it was my first time being an understudy. I was in the ensemble basically, but I understudied this role, and I went on, and a lot of the cast members were like, "Oh my gosh, we had no idea." Like,
did you have any talent?
Yeah, basically.
Okay, blah blah.
And I played that part, and then after that I went out of town. I did the Diary of Anne Frank in Washington D.C.
The musical?
No.
That actually was a really good show. Did you everyone here see that Anne Frank musical? Emla? Yours, Anne. It was so good with Trina Alvarado.
Really?
Yeah, everyone's always like, ha ha. I'm like...
But how could they sing? Weren't they supposed to be really quiet?
Yeah, but they weren't mic'd in the attic. Yeah, but so what? I mean, like, they weren't really singing.
What were these, like, dream sequences where they had, like, their dreams of performing these
feelings? First of all, they weren't doing step kicks.
They weren't tapping on the floor.
Feelings. Man.
Expressing feelings.
You heard me. Anyway, it was a good show. Okay, so hold on. So you did the Fiddler with Harvey. What was Harvey like to work with? I'm sure he took over that whole stage.
He was very different from Alfred.
In terms of what?
Alfred Molina. Well, Alfred was a lot quieter. And Harvey was wonderful. I thought that Harvey's just ridiculously talented. I loved. I wasn't there with him for a long time, but
he doesn't miss shows either.
Never.
Yeah, he's very, very old school.
Never, ever is going to show
that. Okay, so hold on. So you left Fiddler because why?
Because I got in Frank.
Oh, that's a good part. And where was it? What theater?
It was at the Roundhouse Theater.
What city is
in
that?
Bethesda, Maryland.
Oh, was it hard to memorize all that shit?
Yes, it was. But I would write things down in my journal. Like my
your lines?
Yeah. I remember that in my diary.
As they say.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a good gig. And then what happened after you left that?
Well, that was kind of like a really big learning experience for me. That was like my really first, like, no singing. It was all about, I couldn't be like, you want to know how I feel? Well, let me sing it for you. It's a lot harder, especially when you're mainly a singer. But that was really great. And while I was in, Maryland, the concert for Spring Awakening was happening, and I get all these emails from these little girls being like, oh, I'm auditioning for your part for Spring Awakening. And I called Michael Mayer and was like, look, I still look the same. Like, you have to see me. Like, you have to let me come in for this. And when I did, he was like, you're right. And he booked me, he hired me, he hired John Gallagher, and he hired Skylar. We did the concert. Then we had, like, a year break.
What was the purpose of the concert?
The purpose of the concert was to really get the investors, like, Ira Pittleman, Tom Hulse, and all the other 2,500 producers that we have. But it also introduced us to the Atlantic Theater. And that's how, we're here because of the Atlantic Theater. If it weren't for them,
It never would happen. And then was it just the songs of the show? Or did you describe the story?
No, it was a whole workshop. It wasn't, staged, but it was the entire show, in the script.
It's called the concert. It was a concert version.
And, we did that. We got our backers for the Atlantic, and a year later, I was auditioning again for them.
Auditioning? Why don't you watch the tape of my concert,
No,
bitches?
they made me re-audition every single time.
And what did you kept going in and being like, I don't know how to love?
No, I mean, they would ask me to bring in my own stuff, and then they'd obviously ask me to sing stuff from the show. But, the final time, I was there, and Jonathan Groff was there, and, but, that's when we first met, and we were the last ones there at the end of the day with John Gallagher, and fun fact, Gideon Glick, who ended up becoming Ernst, but they were considering him originally for Moritz. He was there as well, and John and I, they were like, well, you guys just wait in the back of the room for a minute. So here we are sitting in the back of the room, and there's the creative team over there, and we turned to each other, and we were like, I really want you to get, I want to do this with you, and then, I found out that I got it the next day, and I'm like, well, who got Melchior? And they're like, Jonathan Groff. And I was like, what was the name of that boy I was sitting in the back of the room with? And I didn't remember if it was that Jonathan or not, so it wasn't until the first day of rehearsal that I was like, it's you.
Had you seen In My Life?
Oh, no.
Okay, so no prejudice.
No, I saw... oh, no.
Just wondering. By the way, did you read on all that chat that In My Life is happening again? They're like, we've snagged the rights to the first production since Broadway. It's like happening in Chicago or something. Yeah, I was like, wow. And yeah, $15 seats. $15 too much.
Where are they doing that? Where are they doing that?
Chicago? Is it near... Exactly. It's some small theater. I mean, I can't describe it. It wasn't the worst I've ever seen. It was just what's happened. The whole time was like, what's happening? I mean, I've definitely seen worse shows, definitely, than In My Life.
What was worse?
I won't say, but suffice it to say, I'm not that mean, but I've seen worse shows. Urban Cowboy. Anyway, okay, so whatever. That, I was just like, please keep me awake with some coffee. At least in my life, the whole time I was so much in a state of shock that could kept me awake, because I was like, he's a skeleton? Like, I was like, he's getting a brain operated on? Like, I just couldn't believe what was happening. What'd you say? It was entertaining. Well, don't push it. Okay, so wait. So Jonathan Groff got it too, and then you got it, and then this was just for the Atlantic Theater. Did you have any aspirations of us going to move to Broadway, or you're just like, it's another gig?
No, I was so happy that it was finally being staged, and that was good enough for me. I was like, I guess I didn't put two and two together, like, oh wow, we could be off Broadway and then get picked up for Broadway, because I was just finally happy that Spring Awakening was going to be somewhere. You know what I mean?
Ya.
So,
You don't have any aspirations. Had you read the book?
Oh, yeah. I mean, obviously, for years.
So what do you think about the whole controversy? What's his name? Jonathan Franzen? Is that his name? So I didn't read the... he has the new version of Spring Awakening coming out. Is that his name, the guy with the corrections?
Really?
You didn't read about it. He was like... He got some book deal, right? Translation. And he's sort of like... Was dishing the Broadway production. And I haven't read the original play, but he was saying that Wendla's rape in the book is like devastating, and on Broadway it's treated as like a lovemaking scene. So like, what do you think about that? Is that true?
I mean, it definitely was changed in the book. It's a rape, and on stage it's, but...
So it's a rape in the book, and then what happens? But then he really is in love with Wen-La?
Well, it's kind of confusing in the book because she ends the first act by saying no, but she loves him, and she realizes that what they did was, afterwards. But that's kind of hard to... What we're doing is just so much, easier, and it really just explains our characters. It tells the audience what we're kind of thinking in our heads a little.
So, how do you play that? Are you not willing at the end of Act 1?
No, I'm willing.
So it's not really, it's not rape?
No, not at all.
Okay, so I guess he was just saying that it's been modified for Broadway. It doesn't have modifications, but I understand why you guys modified it. No one really wants to root for Jonathan Groff if he really raped you. Yeah,
it's hard to, really feel for the character of Melchior that way.
Yeah, it's all right. He needs to butt off. Okay, so when did they first tell you that the old Bubetta McGee was going to be popping out?
Oh, I found a note on my table one day from Michael Mayer after the opening off-Broadway saying, "We should see your breast." And then
That was his way of dropping the bomb on you?
Yeah.
Love Michael?
Yeah.
Not even like, good luck tonight. All right, go on.
Well, then I walked down the stairs with the note in my hand, and he's like on his BlackBerry, and I'm like, I got this. And he's like, yeah, can you do that tonight? You'll do it tonight? Great, excellent. And leaves. So I go to Jonathan, and I'm like, I got this. And he's like, okay. He's like, are you okay with that? I'm like, sure. And I did it. And that's how Michael gets us to do this stuff, which really isn't that big of a deal.
Did Jonathan show you a note saying we should see your ass?
Well...
I got the same note.
No.
Wait, so how did you decide how it was going to happen?
We just did it.
Was the whole rest of the cast like...
Yeah, well, I told them, I was like, you're going to see my boob tonight.
Hey, did you have any time to go to, sun tanning quickly?
No.
Oh, just wondering. Wait, were your parents in the audience?
When my parents... I made an agreement with them off-Broadway because the theater was so small. I made an agreement with the company that the nights that my parents would come, I wouldn't expose myself. But now that it's Broadway and it's so big, if you sit 4 rows back, you don't see anything. So.
That's sweet. So you don't want your parents to be traumatized. That's sweet.
Not at least until we got to Broadway. Then once we got to Broadway, I was like, you're going to have to
take a look. Meet him and weep.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you first played, what was the audience reaction like when you first opened Atlantic?
Amazing. The audiences at the Atlantic were wonderful, and
it was so exciting because no one knew what the hell to expect. Especially you guys, weren't you just like, it's going to suck? Like, what did you think about it?
I always thought it was going to be great. For me, it's like I had such passion, that I was like, this is going to be, great. And we just got good reviews. Like everything just, happened.
Was Kim Grigsby music directing then?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. She did the concert. She did everything.
I'm impressed by how you guys sort of riff in the exact same rhythm. Mama who bore me. It's all specific.
Well, that's Anne-Marie Milazzo. She does all of our musical arrangements.
Oh, so
vocal arrangements.
But in terms of your, in terms of how you actually riff. I mean, because she writes down those rhythms.
She writes down dots.
My
Literally,
God.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it's so specific. You guys are so together.
I know, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's so cool. And how'd you snap? Oh, you're right. You did, because in Bethlehem, you did ask for the top part in that because you're on the E.
Well, they always just give me the top part generally.
I'm the lead. Okay, so what's your subtext on that whole opening number when you're like, I like my body?
Mm-hmm. Well, she's basically just looking at herself in the mirror and looking at her body as it's changing, sort of, for the first time.
And exploring it. It's very, what's your name? Anne Frank, my body is changing.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, there was a monologue in Anne Frank which her body changing, and it was also in the Yours and CD. So my friend Tim, had it on his answer machine. It was like, my body is changing. And it was like, so I'm not here, leave me a message. And it was hilarious. He put his own voice on. Anywho. Okay, so there's also, speaking of all that chat, there was a whole long post about songs that don't rhyme. So what's your take on that? Because Spring Awakening's full of it.
Oh, well, I think that's fine. I think it's great. Steven Sater's lyrics are, poetry, and, our songs fit within our show, and they fit with, outside of our show, and,
So you're not a musical theater purist, as it were.
Well, I am for certain shows. That wouldn't be right for Spring Awakening, though.
It's so pop-oriented, do you think?
Yeah.
All right. I'll take it for now. Breasts does not rhyme. Okay, whatever. We'll get back to you on that. I don't know how hard it is. Whatever. I'll get back to you. Okay, so audiences are loving it, and then let me ask something. So, how did you find out you were transferred to Broadway, and did those bitches make you try out one more time? Because that is not cool.
No, not at all. But I had gotten. I'd been offered the part of Eponine in the Broadway company of the revival for Les Mis. And so I was like, okay, so I'm just going to go, once this closes off Broadway, and I'm going to go play Eponine. And
what was your audition for that like?
My audition for it was great. It was wonderful.
How many auditions?
Just 2.
What did you have to sing, on my own?
Mm-hmm.
Anything else?
Yeah, like everything. I sang
really?
everything. Mm-hmm. And it was great.
Even Inchovin!
Yeah, everything. And so I did that.
And who was there when you auditioned? Like
John Keard and Cameron and
Did you know them from when you were a kid?
Never met them before.
Oh, how weird.
Yeah. So I ended up getting that, and so I figured, okay, when Spring Awakening closes, I'll just go on and do Les Mis. But then we found out we were coming to Broadway, so then...
You're like, which Broadway show do I choose? Oh my God, it's the worst problem ever. Why is my life like this?
It was pretty amazing. And so, I chose Spring Awakening.
Originating your role was so much better.
Yeah, I felt that after being with this role for so long, I had to stick with it.
Yeah, can you imagine if Brittany Murphy as well? Like, we'd be devastated.
Oh God, it would be really hard if,
But how, well, maybe it was a run long enough, I guess you can, why would you want to leave Spring Awakening?
Well, I mean, I'm gonna, Jonathan Groff and I are gonna stay in Spring Awakening together for a while, but once that's done, I'd love to get a chance to go over and do it, for sure.
Back to it. All right,
Yeah.
so first of all, what time is it before we go on? We both have to go to half hour, nervous. 4 to 7. Okay, so we have like 2 more minutes, and then we'll sing. Okay, so
It's
first of all...
6:45?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Which is to be the 3 Okay, so first of all, Tony night, how excited were you?
Oh my gosh, Tony night was amazing. I mean, first of all...
Was Peter Friedman your date?
No. It was so amazing getting all of our Tony nominations. That morning was so overwhelming. And, then going to the Tonys the whole day was such a blur. And, starting our number... singing. It was just incredible. And that whole night, things like that don't happen. Like,
did you have to rehearse in the morning?
Oh, yeah.
Did you rehearse in the morning and then you had to do your matinee?
Mm-hmm.
So weren't the whole matinee, weren't you like...
I was so scared. Well, yeah, I mean, but I was so nervous that I don't even remember. And that morning, Jonathan Groff, on the way to Radio City, pulled his back out, and he was like on the floor in Radio City, couldn't move. I was having panic attacks. It was awful, so terrible. But
how did he get his back? Does he still need a massage? Because I'm
oh, you're a masseuse?
Well, I could be and stuff.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to tell him that you said that.
And silence your microphone. Okay, so wait, so you're freaking out. So he got his. So then you showed up. First of all, who did your dress?
My dress was by a designer called Phe, P-H-E, which I styled and I designed and I made.
Did it have a retractable? Well, based on your role.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Crazy Velcro?
But it was awesome. It was such a great night. And when we won, and when John Gallagher won, I mean, it was unbelievable.
It was like the total opposite of Ragtime.
Well, kind of.
Well, because you had your hopes up.
It was the night that should have been for Ragtime.
Yeah, I know. I'm with you. I'm still devastated.
But it was amazing. But for me, that night was so crazy. But the next day was even better. What? Monday night, Monday Joanne.
Oh, you had a show?
Yeah, the day after was unbelievable. Standing on that chair at the beginning of the show, and the whole audience, the orchestra stood, and everybody just applauded, and I just stood there. I was like, "Yep,
let's
so hear it." 7 years
so
of
many
working
years,
on a show, and I was like, that's what really meant a lot, because the whole Tonys were such a blur.
I mean, it's one thing to get a Broadway show, but to get a Broadway show that's like the hit of the season.
Yeah, it's pretty unbelievable. And now we're just like running, and now like all that's over, but we were really still, as a cast,
close
doing our
How to
thing.
keep the show fresh?
Kim Grigsby really helps to keep our show fresh. Our music director, we're constantly in there with music rehearsals, but also we have a lot of new cast members coming. Some people are leaving to go do movies and coming back, so we'll always have.
That keeps it.
Yeah, and because we love the show and because it's so fun to do. And
isn't it so heavy to have to deal with the whipping and the thising and the thatting and the death and the rape?
No, it's totally
and the breast?
true. I mean, at the beginning, my friends will tell you I would be like a mess after the show. Not like a mess, but I'd just be like, I didn't know how to leave that behind. But I think I'm really so much better now of, that's done. And
now let's party. I hear you. Okay, so how long are you planning on staying with the show?
Definitely at least for another 6 or 7 months, something like that, for sure.
I was there the night that the swatch broke.
Oh my gosh, when that happens, it's so scary.
What's scary? Because it's going to hurt
Because
more.
I don't know what do you do when it breaks? What do you do? Do you just start? Stop. But no, we have an extra one lying around just in case. Yeah.
Stay right there. Whip!
Yeah, let me go get another. You know, it happens. It really does have to happen.
It's awkward. Okay, so before Lea leaves, we thought we would recreate the song that was not meant to be this year, but perhaps might in the future. So hold the phone. Let me go to the piano. You want any water?
No, I'm good. Hopefully, if this sucks, then you could say, "Thank God she chose to do Spring Awakening." It's in the back. That was the original book that I bought when I got it when I was 8. I know. Okay, no, not this one. Oh, screw you! You suck! I'm like, oh my God, what? What are we doing? I'm not ready for this. I'll make you sing Grease. You look like you could be in Grease right now. I'm going to sing this song to you. On my own, pretending he's beside me, all alone, I walk with him till morning. Without him, I feel his arms around me, and when I lose my way, I close my eyes, and he has found me. In the rain, the pavement shines like silver. All the lights are misty in the river. In the darkness, the trees are full of starlight, and all I see is him and me forever and forever. And I know it's only in my mind that I'm talking to myself and not to him. And although I know that he is blind, still I say there's a way for us. I love him, but when the night is over, he is gone. The river's just a river. Without him, the world around me changes. The trees are bare and everywhere the streets are full of strangers. I love him, but every day I'm learning. All my life I've only been pretending. Without me, his world will go on turning. A world that's full of happiness that I have never known. I love him.